The French Quarter woke under a subdued dawn, the ashes of Fat Tuesday still scattered across the cobblestones. Beads lay in the gutters, broken masks glinted in the weak light, and the parade music had fallen silent under Chief Inspector Grayson's curfew. In the Times-Picayune newsroom on Camp Street, typewriters rattled and ink smelled sharp in the air. Celeste Moreau stood beside her desk while reporters and editors crowded around the front page she had just delivered, The Crescent Moon Conspiracy, A City's Elite Unmasked. The article named Vincent Devereaux as a murderer and exposed the secret order behind the deaths that had haunted New Orleans for years. Celeste's ledger, the photographs, Margot's key, and Amelie's journal had formed a chain of proof no one could dismiss. By sunrise, the city was already reacting. Society figures denied everything, politicians rushed to protect themselves, and ordinary readers felt both horror and relief. Celeste did not feel triumphant. Her bruise from the abduction was fading, but the weight of 10 dead names remained with her. Lavigne, Thibodeau, Leclerc, Clara, Dupont, Martineau, Rousseau, Blanchard, Renaud, Amélie. She had brought their story into the light, but she knew that truth did not erase loss. At police headquarters on Tulane Avenue, Julien Dubois sat alone at his desk while officers processed arrests and confessions. The station was noisy with motion, yet something inside it had become quieter. Devereaux's body had been recovered from the plantation ruins, and Amélie's journal had confirmed what Julien had feared for a decade. Her death had not been random. It had been part of the first theft, the first lie, the first crime that allowed the order to grow. Julien lit a cigarette and stared at Amélie's photograph, the faint scar on his face tightening as if memory itself had touched it. He murmured that she was at rest now. The words were simple, but they held the end of a long punishment. Clara was gone, Margot had paid a terrible price, and Tommy's betrayal still stung, yet the conspiracy had finally collapsed. Chief Inspector Grayson's office had been sealed after evidence of bribes came to light. Suspicion that had once protected him now threatened to consume him. The precinct, bruised and embarrassed, was forced to confront its own corruption. Julien welcomed the reckoning. If the city was to heal, even its protectors had to be tested. Celeste's article reached him by mid-morning. He read the headline, then the careful lines that spared his badge while naming the truth. She had not written to praise him. She had written to make sure the dead would not be buried a second time. Julien smiled despite himself and crushed the cigarette in the ashtray. Outside, newsboys shouted that the Crescent Moon killers had been exposed. The quarter stirred slowly, as if taking its first breath after a long fever. Jazz clubs remained quiet for now, but the city intended to sing again. Celeste left the newsroom and walked past St. Louis Cathedral, the spires rising pale against the sky. She touched the amulet at her throat and thought of Madame Zora's warning that evil never vanished, only changed shape. Her scars would remain, and so would Julien's, but shared survival had bound them together more firmly than any promise. Julien stepped into the street and let the Mississippi breeze cut through the smoke of the morning. Amélie's memory moved beside him like a steady hand. The crescent moon was gone, but New Orleans continued, stubborn and alive. He would guard it, not because it was pure, but because it was worth protecting.